Okay, well, this story, true crime story, horrific story, actually, it was written by Derek Riley on Beach Grit. Quote, the once cute as a button Australian surfer Larry Blair, who famously won back-to-back Pipe Masters titles with long flaxen hair sprouting from the middle of his crown, back when the Pipe Masters meant something, has revealed the gruesome torture and murder of his stepdad and his family after their life on the run. Now, Larry Blair is a name I knew. I probably would have identified that he was a pipe master. I had no idea about this backstory. Did you?
Zero. No, nothing at all. And it was so, I feel usually in like the lives of surfers' backstories, the ones that are this out there, you would think you would know, because this was not just your run of the mill, like, oh, the dad, lived a life of crime. No.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
So, again, trying to juice the true crime algorithm. Maybe we can categorize our podcast as true crime this week instead of sports. But in a new book titled The Outside, written by his pal Jeremy Goring, Larry Blair says his daddy, the bank robber Frank Baldy Blair, was part of a gang that stole almost 600 G's in a robbery of an armored van, one of the biggest heists in Australia at the time. It was the equivalent to what would be $9 million in cash today. Quote, they asked my father where his portion of the money was and for him to give it up. Word has it that he wouldn't give them anything. So to get him to talk, Kevin Gore blowtorched Larry's dad's testicles and other parts of him with his trusty oxyacetylene torch. Then they lopped off his toes one by one with the bolt cutters while Billy held him down. Frank Baldy Blair, the womanizing bully, died of his wounds, and the toe cutters, the Australians' most murderous gang, was born, named after the manner in which they had tortured and killed the only father that I had ever known. End quote.
That is about as wild a bit of surf history as I'd ever read in my life.
Well, even wilder is that amid all of this, Larry was finessing his surfing. And when a scam with his mom had failed, he was 15. He jumped on a plane to Hawaii. 5 years later, he famously won the Coke surfboard classic, I guess, at Manly, then followed by the Pipe Masters wins of 1978 and 1979. Many wild stories, no trannies, but still very good, as Derek put it. You can buy the book here. I've got a link to Amazon if you want to check today's notes.
Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. I read that whole, yeah. I mean, I typically always read Derek stuff, but that one I was like, whoa, based on the content alone.
Crazy. Wild, wild upbringing. So a listener wrote in with his own Larry Blair Pro in the Wild story.
Ooh.
Quote, I was reading the story about Larry Blair, and in 1981, I was 14 years old and living in Hermosa Beach. I was fairly new to stand-up surfing. Chris Barella and Mike Benavidez were our local pros. Hermosa's 99% closeouts, but if you were lucky, you could get a turn in. Those guys were out, they were surfing really fast, and they made the waves actually look good. Larry Blair would occasionally stay with Mike and Chris at a guy's house, or at another guy's house named Doc. He was a decent shoulder. This particular day was a decent shoulder high afternoon. Chris, Mike, and Larry were out. I was on a 6'6" Ocean Pacific single fin pintail. Mike and Larry caught a wave together and they were roller coastering at high speed down the line towards me. I scratched over the shoulder as fast as I could, but Larry threaded right through my leash, which slingshotted me back over the falls. While I was getting tumbled underwater, I was thinking, what a kook I am. I should have been out of the way. But Larry, who had also fallen, surfaced and immediately started apologizing. And I started apologizing to him. Larry was laughing hard and said, no worries. The next day, my buddy that knew Chris and Mike took me to their place and we played a couple of games of ping pong. All three of them were super cool. It was surprising to read this story about Larry's parents. He was a really nice guy and he seemed really humble. That is my Larry Blair story. My name is Alex, but my Hermosa friends call me Smiley.
Smiley. Thank you for writing in. It's wonderful to have pros in the wild that are directly relevant to especially to our true crime segment.
Totally comes full
True
circle
criminals in
real
the
quick.
wild.